Hey everybody, Keep7 Gaming here, back with another Magic the Gathering Arena video. Today I'm showing off a Snapdax deck that I brewed up. Snapdax being one of the apexes of the new Ikoria set, legendary dinosaur cat creature, dinosaur cat nightmare. He has double strike, and whenever he mutates, it deals 4 damage to target creature or planeswalker they control, target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls, and you gain 4 life. So I wanted to make a deck kind of based around this card, because I got an Ikoria booster box, and I was able to actually pull this card, the comic book full art, which I think is really sick. So I wanted to make a deck just kind of all I actually got a regular one too, so I have 2. So I figured if I was going to make a deck with an Apex in it, it would be Snapdax. So I wanted to go on Arena and kind of brew up a version of a deck that had that featured Snapdax that I would like, and that I could make a paper version of to play with friends. So originally I did splash some red, but I found that the deck was just a little too disjointed, a little too slow. To speed things up, I just cut it down to the 2 colors, white and black. I also found that a big problem I was having was card advantage. Once you played out your opening hand, you were basically top decking for the rest of the game. So I added some copies of Treacherous Blessing to refill your hand. Obviously, this isn't something you want to keep on the board, because every time you cast a spell, you lose 1 life. So we have some ways to get rid of it in the deck. We have Mortify, so you can destroy your own enchantment. Really should be using this to destroy their creatures, but we have some cheaper removal for Treacherous Blessing in Light of Hope. Light of Hope also gives us some life gain. It gives us more options. It gives us life gain options. It gives us +1/+1 counter on target creature option, stuff like that. So on our lower end, we have things like Healer's Hawk and Vampire of the Dire Moon, which are great mutate targets, things that you can put Snapdax onto if they've survived long enough for him to hop on. We have more removal. Our removal suite is basically Despark, Murderous Rider, and Mortify. Treacherous Blessing, again, is there to refill our hands, and we expect that, hopefully we can remove it as soon as possible. And then our top end is filled with Cub Warden, which is a 4-mana cat creature that can mutate for 4 mana as well. And when it mutates, you create 2 1/1 white cat creature tokens with lifelink. So more lifelink, more targets for mutations. And he's a 3/5, so he's a solid body. And then we have Huntmaster Liger. This is another one of our kind of mid-range mutate creatures. Actually, I'm going to remove the card art for him. I really don't like the Ikoria stuff. I don't like the Ikoria Godzilla arts. So Huntmaster Liger, just a cheaper mutate target, something you can put on, and it also buffs the other creatures that you have on the field. They get +X until end of turn, where X is the number of times it mutated. So your Vampire of the Dire Moon could potentially be a 2/2, 3/3, 4/4. I've gotten it up to like a 5/5 before. But just another mid-range mutate target to give you more options and give you some stuff to do until you reach Snapdax, which is kind of your end-all be-all. Originally, I did splash some red, and I'm thinking of trying to splash red again and maybe making more of like a long-term game plan. This is kind of like an this is like a quick aggro control, maybe mid-range thing. It's just you remove their creatures, you have your creature stick, and then you mutate onto them and end the game that way. It's kind of your game plan. I was thinking of doing something more long-term, maybe splashing in red again, getting something out like putting something in like Fires of Invention, Shatter the Sky, things of that nature. Maybe cutting more of the lower end, so that you build up to the 4 mana, you get Fires of Invention down, and then you get 1 or 2 more mana. You can put things down like Cubward and Huntmaster Liger and all this other stuff. But if you're gonna splurge for Fires of Invention, why would you even why wouldn't you just make a classic Fires deck? Why make a weak Fires deck when you can make a strong one? So that's why I kind of am not splashing red again. But the problem is, when I splashed red, I put in things like Bone Crusher Giant and stuff like that. I mean, I guess you could look at things like Porcuparrot and stuff like Porcuparrot and other red mutate targets. But when I splashed in red, it seemed to just be a little too disjointed. It just took too long to kind of set up, and your opponent usually, as soon as you had one of your big mutate targets on the field, your opponent usually had an answer for it, and then your game plan was kaput. I had a couple good games with Ruinous Ultimatum and stuff, but I don't know, it just didn't work out. I guess at the end of the day, we could cut Murderous Rider, put in more D-Sparks, maybe put in just regular, well, no, not regular Murder wouldn't work, but I was thinking just getting rid of Murderous Rider, and then you could put in Gigantha as like a companion, but you would have to splash red to do that. So there are a lot of ways to kind of work around this, but this is kind of what I've settled on. This has kind of been what's been working best for me in the past couple of games I've been playing. So yeah, I mean it's pretty fun. And then as far as our mana, we're looking at just kind of a middle of the pack 24, 4 Godless Shrines, 2 Scoured Baron. I only put in the Scoured Barons because I don't have 4 Temple of Silences, but really what I would do is probably just 4 Godless Shrines, 4 Temple of Silences, and then 8 of both the Plains and Swamps. But yeah, that's the deck, so it performs pretty well. I mean, if you can get your Healer's Hawk or Vampire of the Dire Moon to stick, and then you can kind of draw into some answers, maybe you have some removal to kind of get rid of their early problems, and then you can kind of mutate on with these guys. That's your game plan, and it works out. You know, when it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't, and it doesn't spectacularly. I mean, I wouldn't say this is something that you should play on ladder by any means, but it's something that's fun, and it kind of it is fun when you get the Snapdax whole thing to work. I am probably going to be experimenting with this more, so I might have another version of this in the near future, but this is what I'm going with for right now, and this is what we'll be playing in this video. So hope you enjoy. Let's get into our matches. Next opponent for the day is Adonius Aguiar. Not sure if I got that right. Alright, so we got an early play, we have some removal, although D-Spark is really letting me down, so I might have to switch D-Spark out for something else, maybe like a Banishing Light or something that can exile stuff. And I know this can, but there's just too many cards with low mana cost that are a problem. We'll play the Vampire first, because I'd almost rather that die. See if they want to trade. They don't. Figures. Okay, so they're doing like the Hydra's growth thing. So we'll Huntmaster Liger on the thing that cannot be blocked. The good thing about the Hydra's growth thing, unless they have the flying aura, this isn't going to be a problem. And they're not going to trade because they put the Hydra's growth on it, so. Wow, they are going to trade. Okay. If he swings in, I have Murderous Rider, unless he has the aura that gives it vigilance. I don't know if that was, I don't know if it was worth him using Karametra's Blessing there. Okay, so he doesn't swing in. Let's see what's on the top of our deck. Come on. So let's Murderous Rider the All-Seed. Hope that we draw into some. He's giving that protection from black, but I don't think he realizes we can't play any other spells. So he's down to 13. We're up to 29. He does get the double the counters, though. So he's up to 7. But I think he's afraid to swing in because he thinks that I might have removal. Which I suppose he should be. He really should start swinging. I guess at this point, honestly, We just put the counters on it. Get ourselves a 5/6, swing in. Get that life that we're gonna need. So he's up to 14. He really should swing. Swing, Merrill, swing. Even, honestly, a Vampire of the Dire Moon would just shut him down because he couldn't attack. D-Spark looking so bad. He's got to swing. Well, we have the removal. If he decides to swing in, it's an instant, so. He's got to commit. And if he does, we have the Mortify. Okay. So he had what he needed. And I think we won the race. Alrighty. That's tough. Yeah, I mean, he had exactly what he needed, and we had exactly what we needed, but... Alright, our next opponent is Matty Goodthrust. It's a pretty good name. Alright, so we have an early play, we have some decent removal, we have Treacherous Blessing, and we have a Cup Warden. So, and we have plenty of land. 3 lands. So a 3-lander with an early play and some good later plays will stay true to our name and keep 7. And there's some more removal. Removal for our Treacherous Blessing, too. So we have removal for Treacherous Blessing and removal for their creatures. Interesting. So if he wants to attack with the Knight, we'll take that trade. Worst comes to worst, we can remove it next turn. Because I think the Knight is probably our bigger target there. We have our own Healer's Hawk on deck. Hopefully we draw into a land so we can play it. Okay, so an Heliod. He's going to put a +1/+1 counter there. Maybe exiling something. Oh, that doesn't look so good, does it? So let's see. Let's see what we draw into. Give us more options. We're not on a huge clock yet. We're drawing. I feel like when you draw Treacherous Blessing, you draw all of them. And then when you don't, you don't. Okay, so he's going for like this Lifegain stuff. Good thing is we have a lot of removal for creatures. Just going to get rid of that because it can be a problem earlier. We'll play our own Healer's Hawk. Hopefully we have enough removal here that... I'm actually fine leaving 1 Treacherous Blessing on the field. If he wants to play another Bloodthirsty Aerialist, okay. Won't block it. Alright. Mortify her. Probably should get rid of the Healer's Hawk, but... hopefully we draw into another Murderous Rider or something. And now hopefully we draw into a... we don't. So Snapdax on the Vampire is good. I think because it has Death Touch, that's why it died. It'll go 3rd from the top, and that's fine. We swing in all in here. We get some life back. He's got a 5/5 Healer's Hawk, but that don't bother us none. He can keep swinging in with the Healer's Hawk if you want. Okay, so he has his own Murderous Rider for our Snapdax, and that typically is the problem that I see a lot. He can swing in for 6, so we need to draw into a Murderous Rider. And fast. We can destroy our Treacherous Blessing. This Cub Warden should help us stay alive, even though we're taking 7 damage target. We'll get rid of that. There we go. Oh, that's rough. That's game. He got exactly what he needed. I was thinking of adding Ritual of Soot. Well, Ritual of Soot would not do much here. Let's see. Could we draw into anything good? Okay, so we can exile you, I suppose. That keeps us somewhat alive, maybe? Turns off Heliod. Play this, swing in for the life gain, I suppose. 7, 10, yeah, we're dead. So, GG. Our opponent got the Bolas' Citadel down and Aluris out, which just... Our next opponent is Mr. Snivich. Alright, so we have... I'm really considering cutting D-Spark. It's just so not useful anymore. I've barely... We're going to stay true to our name and keep 7. D-Spark is just not... There's just too much... There's just too many cards that are good that have a mana cost lower than 3, or what is it, 4? Yeah, lower than 4. And there are too many cards that just set stuff up that you need to get rid of. So this might have to go. Yeah, and replace it with maybe like an Elspeth Conquers Death. This deck would be tough with Elspeth Conquers Death, but maybe like an Elspeth or maybe... Alright, so he's playing some red. Which makes me nervous about some burn. He can get rid of our weenies. So I'm not going to play that last Healer's Hawk. This will be our board for a bit. We'll see how much he can get rid of. We'll see how much removal he has. He's got the American flag sleeves. That's pretty cool. Okay, so he uses a Jaya's Greeting on a Vampire of the Dire Moon. As far as mana exchanges go, I don't hate that. Let's see what he commits to the board. Does he commit to the board, or is he playing some sort of burn control? Would love to draw into a untapped land so I could play Treacherous Blessing. He doesn't commit anything, which makes me think he is playing some sort of control. And he's waiting for maybe a counterspell, but I don't know what kind of counterspell would have 1 island. I'm not going to commit that Healer's Hawk to the board because that's basically all we have left. We're just going to swing in. We have the Light of Hope for the Treacherous Blessing when we get to play it. So if we draw into an untapped land, Treacherous Blessing, Light of Hope to remove it. Yeah. So a 1/1 counter wouldn't do anything. So not worth it. He's down 4 cards. What are they? What are you trying to set up? Ominous Seas? Something? No. Maybe. Okay. Don't know. Oh, man. Okay, so no one tapped land, but we'll just play the Treacherous Blessing now. If he counters this, that would be harsh. And like Deny the Divine would have gotten that easy. If we draw into an untapped land, though, we do. To remove it, we'll pay the 2 life. Destroy Treacherous Blessing. We got some removal. We got Murderous Rider. And we have some stuff to commit to the board. So we can play a Healer's Hawk and then Huntmaster Liger, or we can just Huntmaster Liger on our Healer's Hawk and just kind of play it a little bit slowly. I think probably we Huntmaster Liger. Okay, so he's playing Spectral Sailor. Huntmaster Liger might not be the best option. We might need to replace that because a lot of the time we're only committing a few things to the board. We only have, you know, what, 2 or 3 creatures, so... Well, he's committed something to the board. Okay, so now we're definitely committing Huntmaster Liger. Trying to think of another black or white mutate creature. I was thinking of Dirge Bat because it makes them sacrifice a creature, but I don't like Dirge Bat because it costs 6 mana, and the odds that you get to... Wow. Convolute, huh? Okay. I don't want to use a Murderous Rider. There is our Murderous Rider target. Actually, we'll just despark that now. Oh, I thought exiling it wouldn't cause the trigger. Let's see if he swings. He doesn't. We'll go over. And we'll play out our other Healer's Hawk. Might be a mistake. He could just shock that. Again, don't want to use the Murderous Rider on the Spectral Sailor, especially if we have the advantage of 2, 3, 4 flyers. But I also don't want him to have card draw. Shark. Okay, so he's playing Shark Typhoon. If we can draw into a Mortify, that would be dope. We don't draw into a Mortify. So that means that every time he plays something, Shark Typhoon will make a token. Is it worth... I don't think it's worth Murderous Riding. We might want to save that Murderous Rider for whatever Shark Typhoon token he makes. Okay, that might be a Murderous Rider target. Really wish we didn't have to play out our hand. But alas. Okay, so he does 3 damage. He gets to scry. Made some flying tokens. So yeah, I need to get rid of that Shark Typhoon, and then his board means nothing. He can kill one of my Huntmaster Ligers if I swing all in. Now he can't. So I think that was a mistake. Good thing is we have the lifelink, so we're at least going to be alive. Just play out the planes, just show them we don't have anything. I hate doing that, but... Nadir Kraken. Okay. If we can get like a Treacherous Blessing and then draw into like a Mortify or a Murderous Rider. Okay, so we get Snapdax. So we'll Mortify on... Or, I'm sorry, we'll deal 4 damage to Nadir Kraken. We gain 4 life. All our creatures get pumped. We swing in. He gives us the good game. We'll give him the good game. So that was a much better showing of what this deck can do. Huntmaster Liger actually did kind of come in clutch there because both of, you know, we mutated onto this. That counts as a mutation, so all of these guys got pumped, which was nice, but it just takes too long to build up to that. And I'm trying to figure out a way to make that happen faster, but all right, so our next opponent for the day is Sir Lose-A-Lot, which that's very similar to how we're feeling today, but we made some changes to the deck. We added some Castle Locthwains, we added some Castle Ardenvales, we added some Banishing Lights. So seeing all of those in our starting hand, which is what it is, but the reason I put in Ardenvale is we can create a 1/1 token, so we have something to mutate onto later in the game if we need to. I added Castle Locthwain to the deck so that we could, you know, if we're in a top decking situation, we can, you know, get stuff into our hand. And then I added Banishing Lights instead of the, whatchamacallit, instead of D-Spark, because D-Spark was just terrible for us. So I guess we'll just kill it. Don't like doing that, but I feel like the +1/+1 counters would get annoying. And what is this, Flash? Why didn't he play it at Flash speed? So we'll put our Cub Warden, unless he has some sort of... Whew, I almost just played into a counter. That was scary. So we get 2 mutate targets with the 2/1/1 cats with lifelink, and we can put Snapdax on one of them. Okay, so he's tapping our Cub Warden. I'd like to see him tap out, and then I'd like to see us draw an untapped land. We play the untapped land, we mutate Snapdax. We wouldn't really have a target for... Okay. That sets us back a little bit. We might just go for the Cub Warden rather than playing Vampire of the Dire Moon. This lets us expand our board, and we got to attack right away with Cub Warden, so him sending that back really didn't hurt us as much as I think he thought it did. He's playing another Fairy Vandal. So we'll play out Snapdax on one of these guys. We'll do the 4 damage, gain the 4 life, swing in. Let's see what he has. Riddlemaster Sphinx, which we will just get rid of. You don't want to return the Snapdax. Or do we Murderous Rider that? Let's just Murderous Rider it. And he's tapped out, so that's game. Alrighty, so that's a much better showing from the deck. But we really drew into like everything we could possibly have wanted there, so that was ideal. That felt really good after the Esper control game we just played. Boy, oh boy, it was a slog, and they were just countering everything that we had. So yeah, after that handful of games, I'd say that the changes I made were definitely beneficial. The Lochthwain and the Ardenvale, we only played one game with them, and we didn't even really use them for that purpose. But in the games that I was playing, these two were definitely something that you would need. The Ardenvale for if you're in a late game situation and you have a Snapdax in your hand and they've cleared your board, you need something to mutate onto, and he's just going to sit dead in your hand. You can't even hard cast him. So Castle Ardenvale is extremely important. You can get a 1/1 on the board, and then next turn you can Snapdax or something like that. It's obviously an emergency situation type thing. And then Castle Lochthwain, maybe 4 of these is too much, so maybe just 1 Ardenvale. But Castle Lochthwain is definitely an absolute necessary thing, because the problem with Treacherous Blessing is I feel like if you have one in your starting hand, then you draw all 4 of them within the first couple draws, and then if you don't have it in your starting hand, you never see it, and you don't have any draw power. So Castle Lochthwain could get you out of a top decking situation. So that's why I included those. D-Spark was just overall a pretty disappointing card, so I cut back on the Huntmaster Ligers. I just don't think that they were as important as I thought they were. One came in clutch, in one game, but just one game isn't, if in the vast majority of games I only have representation on the board of about 1 creature, Huntmaster Liger doesn't mean much. Buffing other creatures I don't think is as important. If they're not doing much, or if you have no other creatures, then buffing other creatures you control doesn't really mean much. So I cut 2 Huntmaster Ligers, put in 2 Banishing Lights. I might even cut out Huntmaster Liger. For something. I'm trying to think of another. Necropanther could be an interesting mutation thing. If you lose the Healer's Hawk and the Vampire of the Dire Moon early, or if you only have one, you can essentially use him, I guess, kind of like a Lurrus. You just mutate and you can bring one of them back, and then you have more mutate targets. So maybe Necropanther is better than Huntmaster Liger. Maybe Necropanther is better here, because you play at the Healer's Hawk, you play out the Vampire of the Dire Moon, they're gonna die. And then you're gonna you probably will get another that you can play, and then you can put Necropanther on it. You can get one back. I just don't know how often getting stuff back from your graveyard is really gonna matter. But maybe a Vulpikeep might be better. The flying and mutate, and whenever it mutates, put a +1/+1 counter on it. So maybe instead of Necropanther, you could do Vulpikeep. I guess it can change around. Chittering Harvester could be interesting. Make your opponent sacrifice a creature every time it mutates. But it's an expensive casting cost, and really this deck needs to be faster than it even already is. A lot of the times I'm just not getting what I need done, but it's good. Maybe Necropanther, because it's 4 for mutating. Maybe Vulpikeep would be the better pick there, just because it's 1 mana cheaper, but I don't think it'll make too big of a difference. And maybe the flying with the +1/+1 counters might be better, make it more aggressive. So potentially. But overall, when it works, it works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. When you have an opening hand that has Treacherous Blessing, and you have some removal and stuff like that, and you draw into the Healer's Hawks and the Vampires of the Dire Moon, it feels really good and it's really fun. When you get Snapdax down and you can kill something with the 4 damage, gain the 4 life, and you have double strike. If you have a double striking Death Toucher, or a double striking flying Lifelinker or something like that, it could be really fun. But it got shut down too easily by a lot of decks. Against control decks, obviously, doesn't really survive super well. That I don't know if I'm going to upload the Esper control. It went on really long, and we were just done from the start, so I don't know how interesting and entertaining it would be to watch that. But against like aggro matchups, you might be able to do well with enough removal if you build out a sideboard, things like Ritual of Soot, stuff like that. And again, I think in the future I'm going to try to play around more with Snapdax and try to splash in red, but successfully. You know, maybe I do make a Fires of Invention Snapdax deck, but I just make it, you know, I make a Fires of Invention deck, but it's just a weaker Fires of Invention than, you know, the Fires of Inventions that are out there. Who, you know, just because it's a weaker Fires of Invention deck doesn't necessarily mean you don't have to make it. You can make it and still have fun. That's the point, right? So I think that's something I am going to do, because to make this, to give this deck the oomph that it needs, I think you need the red. And there's gotta, I mean, like Fires of Invention and like Legion Warbot, they're you know, you got Dreadhorde Butcher and stuff like that. There are ways that I could make this stronger. But for right now, this is what was working best for me. So yeah, I'll keep experimenting, and maybe we'll come out with an updated one. If everybody has any ideas for, you know, ways to improve this, or any ideas for, you know, things that we can do to make this deck faster and better, that would be great. But as of right now, this is what we're playing with, and it's working decently, and I'm having fun throwing Snapdax down, getting life gain, and killing stuff. So yeah, thanks for watching.